my father got a coaching job in Tularosa in 1946. My sister was born, and either they knew Pastor Steckler somehow, either going back and forth to El Paso, or he came to Alamogordo, and he baptized my sister January 1st, 1947 in El Paso at Zion. Then we ended up in El Paso in 1960, and I started confirmation at Zion, and it was just the greatest thing. I think I mentioned that we had breaks and went to a hamburger place across the street, and Pastor Steckler let us eat the French fries, you know, while we were in confirmation class, so that was very nice. And then we went to Walther League and were loving it, but then they started another mission at in a bowling alley, which would later be Ascension. And so I started going there. My family transferred their membership, but all the Walther Leagues were so close at that time. My mother, Esther Ruth Geyer, and also Marge Barrett, my mother was Norma Sell, were the counselors at that time. And I don't know if they just loved to get together or what, but we were always doing things together. All three churches, Redeemer, and Zion and Ascension. The bowling alley was Thunderbird Lanes on Mesa, was the bowling alley that we first started Ascension. Okay. And with Pastor Brill was the minister. He's the one that confirmed me.
When John first started coming to Zion, he was single. He had been brought by John Paul Jones and became a member because of John Paul Jones. And Pastor Steckler, because John was single, asked him if he would drive on Sunday afternoons after the service, if he would take him around one by one to the various New Mexico churches, because there was a very good lack of pastors at that time. So John would get in his car, Pastor would get in the car, and once they took off, John would be taking off at 100 miles an hour, and Pastor Steckler would be holding on to the door, and he says, "You know, we really don't have to get there that soon."
My name is Guadalupe Macias, and we start coming in here because my middle child, Adrian Macias, it was exciting seeing the kids playing over there in the playground when we was walking to take my other son to school. And then one day, I stopped to the office with not talking English, and Miss Amy Body was there, and I don't know how we do it, but we got Adrian signed up for school.
For the day school?
For the day school.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. Yes, we got Adrian signed up. It was amazing because Miss Body was making me signs, and I was making signs to Miss Body, but we understand each other. And Adrian started coming over here to the school. At that time, it was Miss Duke and Pastor Huey. They start visiting us over there to my house, and they invite us to Sunday school. We was kind of, they we go, they we stay, because we look, it was only white people, and we are Mexicans, and say, well, maybe we don't get there, but they open their arms and they grab us with all their love. Miss Honesty, he was so nice with my kids every Sunday, and with the old blue band. One time my husband was pushing the band because it don't start.
Mm-hmm.
And another time my husband was doing mechanic in the middle of the street because the band stopped. It was so funny. Yes, but and then we start coming and we start a Spanish class with Roberto Cimental. I'm so glad that I came over here because Miss Nancy, it was my teacher. I spent years helping Miss Nancy, and then it came Miss Annesty and Miss San Luis stuff, and they put me to study to make my high school diploma. They bring me the books, and they put me to study too to have my citizenship over here in the United States, and they was a good teachers, and they was pushing me a little bit hard because I got 3 kids. I passed my classes, and I started teaching the 2 years old.
Okay.
And the years pass, and I start with the 3 years. So I spent like 25 years with the kids over here on Zion.
We also had an outreach program here, the San Antonio Street Mission Outreach. And I began helping with this when Ellen and John Morrison were here at Zion. And Ellen and I would plan these grand VBS programs there. It was just one little tiny little storefront room down on San Antonio Street. And the idea was that so the kids in the neighborhood would have a place to go in the afternoon. So we do it from 1 to 4. So they could come into an air-conditioned room and have a snack. You never knew who was going to show up.
When I try to remember things about the San Antonio Street Mission, I remember the acquisition of the space, getting it ready to host. We use the summer ministry teams to do a lot of canvassing in the community, knocking on doors, finding out what the needs of people were, where they were in their faith walk, what language was spoken in the home, so that when we began to do things at San Antonio Street, it was, I guess you would say it was appropriate for the community.
I was the head of the Vacation Bible School, starting at the time of Pastor Stuckler. And it was interesting with Pastor Stuckler because he wanted to count everybody that came in the door. If the guy delivered a package, he was a member. If a chicken wandered in, that was good too. But anyway, after Pastor Stuckler, then we went on with the other ones. And there were some years that we had like 200 kids, and we had to divide it into a morning and evening times.
It did bring some of the parents in, definitely. And families started to come in and join in many different forms after they became accustomed to the tradition of the church and the rules and the dynamics of it. They were comfortable, and we had several families that joined our congregation, yes, with their children. Our community, we develop healthcare fairs. We do this every summer, and that was the community because we were interested, Pastor Sherrier and I, we were interested in bringing the community. It wasn't just about the neighborhood. We had to let the community know that we were here and what we were capable of doing. It was just not about religious services, but it had to do about helping others. I would pick up the phone and I called someone that were quote unquote difficult to work with or cooperative, and I would just say, this is Julia. this is what we're doing. I need your help. Can you help? Every single time that I made that phone call, the response was yes. What can I do? How can I help? It was awesome. To me, it was awesome because I have been informed that this would not be possible. It was, the word that comes to mind was exhilarating. And to some degree, I became a believer. There's nothing that can stand in God's way. To me, it says, God wants this.
Yeah.
God wants this in every single aspect of our endeavors. Awesome. The results were awesome.